Guys, welcome back to Coliseum Forum. I'm super excited about our guest this week. We have legendary comics writer Mike Barron. We also have another comics retailer who I very much respect, named Dave Pfeiffer. And if you are wondering how these people are related to each other, we're going to jump right into that. I do have to give a little bit of a content warning for this Coliseum Forum because we are going to be discussing kind of a touchy subject. Something that's very also near and dear to us because we are located here in Florida. We're going to be discussing Florida Man. Mike has a novel about the legendary Florida Man. Dave has a card game based on the legendary Florida Man. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Great, thank you.
So I kind of want to jump right into this because um, it's weird how the Florida Man meme caught on. I mean, it makes sense. The stories are wild. But what was it that drew you guys to it specifically? Like for you, Dave, like when you read do you remember the first Florida Man headline that you read?
Yeah, it was probably when I was a kid.
Florida man claims syringe found in rectum is not his.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, wow, that's so specific.
But guys, it's true that I have two Florida man novels out, but we're currently winding down our crowdfunder for the Florida man graphic novel.
Oh, is this going to be based on the first novel?
It's got parts of both novels in it. It's partly original. I didn't want to just repeat what I did.
Sure.
It's different.
Okay, awesome. Very cool. And so let me ask you this, Mike. What was it that drew you to the Florida Man situation?
Every time I went online, I saw a new Florida man story, and they all had vaguely downbeat headlines, a little scruffy, and it just kept coming at me and coming at me. And then one day I just had this epiphany. I had to write a novel about this guy. I had to pull all these stories together and create a living human being that stood for all of them. Well, not all of them, because I wanted people to like my protagonist,
Sure.
but many of them. So I created Gary Duba, who's a roofer who lives in a trailer down by the swamp. And basically, he's a good-hearted guy, but he's got a hair-trigger temper, and he makes a lot of bad decisions. He likes to drink a little too much. He likes to do a little blow. He likes to smoke a little reefer, and he makes some bad decisions.
As a Florida man myself, I kind of know a few guys like this. So, Dave, with you, what was like? I mean, you mentioned like you first interacted with a kid. I mean, you lived in Florida at one point, right?
Oh yeah, I grew up in Florida. I was there for about half my life.
Oh wow. Okay. You
Yeah,
ever miss us?
yeah, all my family's still in South Florida. I'm from just outside of Miami, so I'm
Okay.
there pretty frequently still.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
Frequently enough that I don't miss it exactly.
Right.
There's some amazing things down there for sure, but I've gotten pretty used to being on the West Coast at this point.
For sure. Absolutely. So, for you, I mean, like obviously you've had a little bit more of exposure to Florida Man because you were one of us at one point, right?
Mhm.
Um, what was the genesis? What was the idea for Florida Man the game?
We just kept cracking up at all the headlines, and we
Sure.
didn't really understand why it seemed so concentrated there. And then once we learned about the Freedom of Sunshine Act, it kind of it was it was tough to ignore, I guess. Kind of
Right.
like how Mike was saying, it's just we were feeling pretty inundated. And then because I grew up there, it was easier for me to really picture and place myself inside
Right.
uh, the man. So my business partner, we're friendly with his family, and we get together all the time, and we play games,
Sure.
and we just kind of married the two. Thought it was a great idea,
Sure.
and since we have a shop or a couple shops really, and we even have a fulfillment warehouse that we run, it just made so much sense.
Right.
And since we knew artists, it felt like a pretty easy thing to put together. It wasn't, but we thought it was.
Right.
So we did it anyways.
So let's talk about it. Florida Man the game, based on Florida Man the legend, is essentially like a Mad Live style like casual party game, right?
Yeah,
And the
for
idea is
sure.
that you're trying to create the funniest Florida Man headline that you can come up with.
Right.
Okay.
And it the quickest way to win it is to get lucky enough to have received the cards that make the actual headline
Right.
called Hurricane,
Okay.
which we thought was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you put the words in to mate with the real headline, absurd is really the only, like, so gnarly, just
Right.
every single one of them. And it is very funny, always a little sad because we used every single headline that we have in the game is
Sure.
the real headline.
And
Yeah,
then
we thought,
recently we got an expansion, Florida Girl, right?
yeah, Florida woman.
Florida Woman, sorry.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
fine.
so I mean, obviously Florida Man for us anyway, because and I don't know if it's just because we're here in Florida or whatever the case may be. It's a really hot game for us. Um, I'm and correct me if I'm wrong, but basically you guys did Florida Man. It was received very well, and you guys were like, yeah, Florida Woman's pretty funny too. Is that how we ended up there?
It was even tighter as we were doing the Kickstarter for Florida Man. We realized it makes sense to just kind of do the expansion with the printer immediately. And so we thought there's so many headlines that are Florida Woman. It just
Right.
made perfect sense to us.
Right.
So we married it together in production and then released it separately post Kickstarter.
Okay. So I mean that was the plan from the beginning with Florida Man was going to be followed by Florida Woman just because it just made more sense
Sure.
that way.
It's the first expansion pack essentially, but it's enough cards and enough of a game on its own that you really could just get the Florida Woman box if you wanted to.
Okay. Awesome. And then Mike, I mean if you're just tuning in, I'm speaking with Mike Barron. He is a legend in the industry. I mean, he created Nexus in what was it, 1981, at Dark Horse, and I mean now it's kind of moved around a little bit. But you worked on the Punisher, you worked on the Flash. How do you go from working in comics the way you have in the past, which in creating like some of these really memorable stories, to then sitting down and saying, "Hey, I'm going to write this Florida Man novel, and then another Florida Man novel, and now we it's basically the eve of the Florida Man graphic novel."
I set out to write novels. That's what I originally wanted to do. But I always loved comic books, and it just happened that I broke into comics first because I was lucky enough to hook up with Steve Rude, and we were in the right place at the right time when Capital City Distribution decided they wanted to publish their own comic line. They were the second largest distributor of comics in the world, a multi-million-dollar corporation with feet in over 10 countries. So we put out Nexus through them, and because of Nexus and Badger, I drew attention from the big two, and I had a career in comics. Every now and then I tried to return to writing novels, and I just didn't have it. But then a long time passed. I went through a real rough patch. And when I came out of it, I decided to give it another try, and I had it. I realized while I was writing that I was no longer in doubt about what I was writing, that it was good stuff, that my words got up and walked. It took me 30 years to learn how to write a novel because I'm a slow reader. I mean, I'm a slow writer. I'm a slow reader too. I'm a slow learner. But when I got it, I got it. And from then on, I've been writing novels. I try to write 3 or 4 a year. You have to if you want to make a living at it. But as I said earlier, Florida Man just jumped out at me. I mean, he just kept coming at me, and I realized that I had to write a novel about this guy, that these stories were too outlandish to be real, and yet they are real.
Right.
So you needed an ethos and a narrative and an explanation of who is this guy? I mean, who would do these things? What makes him do these things? So I created Gary Duba using bits of Florida Man, but also bits of myself too. I believe that a reader wants to identify with the protagonist.
Sure.
You've got to give them a protagonist that they care about, because the ultimate question in all fiction is what happens next, and that's what keeps the reader turning the page. Well, how do you do that? How do you keep the reader turning the page? Well, he's got to care about the story. How do you make him care about the story? Well, you use every trick of the writer's trade. You give him a fascinating personality. Like Sherlock Holmes. There's a reason that Sherlock Holmes is even more active today than he was during the 19th century. You give them a compelling storyline, like anything Michael Crichton might do, like Jurassic Park. What if dinosaurs walked among us?
Sure.
or you use a seductive narrative voice. That means you lay those words down in such a way that reading them is like just eating salt peanuts. You pick one up after another and you can't stop. Uh, and that's something that you have to cultivate. But I use all these things. A story is a dynamic narrative with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And what that means is that the story is always in motion. The outcome is always in doubt. One moment the hero's up and one moment the hero's down. Well, with Florida Man, that was easy because one bad decision leads to another. And the thing about Gary is he's always looking to make a fast buck. You know, he's a hard worker. He works hard when he lays down roofs, but nobody's going to get rich laying down roofs unless they own the company. So he's into all these get rich quick schemes. And the first one is house suspenders, which are these giant chains that go over the roof of the house and hold it down to the earth in the event of a hurricane.
Okay.
Another scheme is a guy offers him $10,000 to smuggle 100 rare tarantulas into the country in a suitcase on an airplane. What could go wrong?
What is a were tarantula?
A rare tarantula?
A rare tarantula. I was
the were tarantulas are rare tarantulas, and it's a good thing they are.
I know I live in Florida and we have a lot of like scary spider types, but I am absolutely terrified of spiders. And then you just like amp that terror up with were tarantulas. Like I don't need that.
Well, Gary versus the animals is a theme that runs through both the novels and the comic. It just seems to get into a lot of trouble with the wildlife. And Florida has a lot of invasive species. We have some fun with that, particularly the Burmese python.
Yeah. You read a lot about that. We've there's also I think like some kind of like Komodo dragon we're having a problem with now. Florida is really the wildest place on earth. Huh.
Yeah, those Komodo dragons, they're a comer. They're in the novel too.
Oh boy. All right, so I want to do something a little bit different this week than I have in the past with Coliseum Forum. I actually, we have Dave with us. He's a games creator. Mike, I hope you're on board with this as well. I want to play a game with you guys. So, very similar to your game, Dave. I have some Florida Man headlines. They're going to be multiple choice. There's 3 answers. If you think you know the answer, go ahead and just shout it out. But we're going to go ahead and try to guess the actual real Florida Man headline that was in the news at some point. You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
We're on board?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me 1 second to get these pulled up here. Let's see here. All right. Here we go, guys. So this is the first one. Again, 3 headlines. You got to guess which is the actual Florida Man headline. This actually happened. All right. Is it A, Florida Man dances on police vehicle to ward off vampires? B, Florida Man accused of shooting girlfriend in the eye over fried chicken? Or C, Florida Man ties a samurai sword to a hot air balloon in an attempt to fake his own death?
A.
You got an answer there?
A sounds pretty good.
You guys are right. I mean, I am with the Florida Man experts, but yes, it was absolutely A. Florida Man dances on police vehicle to ward off vampires.
The cheat there was police vehicle.
So if you hear police vehicle, like that's okay. Yeah. Good. All right, guys. Number 2. All right, here we go. A, Florida Man gets beaten up by unicorn. B, Florida Man calls 911 for ride to Hooters. C, Florida Man had teen daughter sell LSD at high school.
I'm gonna go with B.
Me too.
All right, guys. Again, I know you guys are the Florida Man experts, but again, you are correct. The correct answer to that was Florida Man calls 911 for a ride to Hooters.
We're the experts.
You are the experts. I honestly, Edward, who works for us here at Coliseum, he came up with these. I thought he did a fantastic job. But again, you guys are the experts. All right, so let's try again. I'm gonna get you on one of these. I'm sure of it.
Well, now it will.
All right. So A, Florida Man worried about werewolves burns down own trailer. B, Florida Man claims shrimp boat captain threatened him with a ham. Or C, Florida Man enters woman's home claiming he wanted to eat Hot Pockets with her.
I'm gonna go with C.
I can go with the ham. B.
I do like the ham.
I like the ham one too, and that is actually a situation that happened here in
Nice.
Florida. The correct answer there was B. Florida man claims shrimp boat captain threatened him with a ham.
I think
Yes.
there's no debating that Mike is inside this guy now.
No, I really think like yeah he has captured the actual Florida man. That's his
Yeah.
muse.
Watch out. Never move to Florida, buddy. You'll be that guy.
All right, here we go. We're gonna do a few more. All right. Florida man dressed as Fred Flintstone pulled over for speeding in footmobile. B. Florida man caught on camera licking eggs in supermarket. Or C. Florida man charged with battery for giving girlfriend wedgie.
Well, I got to go with B because that's a fairly common occurrence.
Wait, licking eggs in the supermarket?
Yeah.
Sure, B it is. Who would ever argue with that?
What? I mean, oh, what a world! What a world! Actually, guys, that time it was A. Florida man dressed as Fred Flintstone pulled over for speeding in footmobile.
Had you said motorized scooter,
Sure.
then I would have called it A for sure.
Yeah.
What about a Segway? Would you have called it on the Segway?
No, dude, it's all about the little,
Yeah.
grocery
Oh yeah,
store.
fair,
Yabba
fair.
dabba
What about
doo.
okay?
Yeah.
How about riding lawnmower?
Oh, easily.
Oh, you think so, huh?
All right, guys. Next one. A. Florida man arrested in park for practicing judo on joggers. B. Florida man arrested for directing traffic while defecating. Or C. Florida man threatens to destroy town with his army of turtles.
It's C. The army of turtles is well known.
That's a known quantity, the army of turtles that this man has raised.
All right, there you have it.
No, he's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey, I posted some art from the Florida Man graphic novel on your Facebook page, and I just want to highlight Todd Mulrooney's art. We're working with Todd Mulrooney, and he's just a
Awesome.
monster artist. And if you could show that, Billy, that'd be great.
We're going to try to get that pulled up for you right now. And while we're getting that pulled up, I got a few more of these for you guys. Edward did work kind of hard on these, so I want to make
All
sure
right, keep going.
Thanks.
it's not
Thanks,
every
Edward.
day you get to play a Florida Man game with like Florida Man experts, right? All right, here we go. A. Florida man charged with assault with a deadly weapon after throwing poisonous snakes through a Taco Bell drive-thru window. B. Florida man disguises himself in bull costume as he tries to burn down former lover's house with pasta sauce. C. Florida man bites off neighbor's finger after he wouldn't give him a cup of sugar.
C.
See,
Guys, in this case, Florida man disguises himself in bull costume as he tries to burn down former lover's house with pasta sauce is the actual answer.
yeah, but what was he disguised as?
He was in a bull costume.
Oh, a bull costume.
Yes, he put
Oh,
on like
all
a
right.
furry costume, and then apparently went to try to burn down his lover's home. I don't think he was home, but he was also using pasta sauce, which, as far as I'm aware, isn't very flammable. So it obviously he was not successful.
That's a
All
good
right.
one.
I got a couple more for us, and then I would like to move away from Florida Man because I do have a couple of questions about some of the things you do, Dave, as a retailer, and Mike, obviously. I mean, you've had a career in comics for 40 years at this point, so I've got a ton of questions for you guys. Okay, here we go. Florida man lands gyrocopter on Capitol lawn to demand campaign finance reform, is arrested. B. Florida man attacked during selfie with alligator. C. Florida man steals neighbor's lizard, is attacked by angry birds.
What was A again?
A is Florida man lands gyrocopter on Capitol lawn to demand campaign reform, is arrested.
I'm going to go with A.
I'm gonna go with B just because there's an alligator in it.
See, and I kind of felt that way too, but no, there was actually a Florida man who landed a gyrocopter on our Capitol lawn and demanded campaign finance reform. So, I think that making your voice heard is important, and if I had a gyrocopter, maybe I'd consider it too. All right, guys, we got three more. A. Florida man with no legs escapes from police. B. Florida man breaks into jail to hang out with his friend. C. Florida man shoots at hurricane, is struck by flying debris.
I think I like B on that one.
Yeah, I like B too.
Yeah, because that is what Florida man would do. Yes, a Florida man at some point did break into the local jail to hang out with his buddy.
It wasn't just to hang out; it was to smoke a blunt.
Well, you know, that's what bros are for, right? So,
I mean,
all right,
just to hang out. It makes it sound so casual and insignificant.
fair. Like he had they had plans, and he was gonna make sure those plans happened, right?
Right.
All right, so thank you for doing this, guys. This is a blast.
No problem, buddy.
All right. A. Florida man does donuts in police station parking lot. Florida man arrested for eating waffles naked in public. Or C. Florida man bursts into ex delivery room, fights new boyfriend as she's giving birth.
Well, you know, the Florida man eating waffles naked has happened so many times that it's become a staple of state lore.
I guess that's the one then, huh?
So in this case, it is actually C. Florida man bursts into ex's delivery room, fights new boyfriend as she's giving birth. What a wonderful way to welcome a new life to this realm. All right, guys, and this is our last one. I think you guys are probably pretty even. I mean, you're both Florida man experts, but we got one more for you. A. Florida man can't produce driver's license for police, gives them his mixtape instead. Yeah. B. Florida man attacked with egg rolls after argument over Batman. Or C. Florida man filmed stealing 6 peacocks while dressed in a tutu.
Mike, what do you think about that one? You're nailing all of them.
Florida man steals 6 peacocks while dressed in a tutu.
That would, if I didn't have the answers, I would have totally agreed with you. In this case, Florida man can't produce driver's license for police, gives them his mixtape instead, was the actual answer. The police later reported that it was hot fire. So, so yeah, guys, that was awesome. Thank you so much for playing. I don't think there were any real losers in that situation, but you guys are definitely the Florida man experts. So Dave, you and I talked about this a little bit before we got started today. You're also a comic book retailer, similar to kind of what I do.
Yes.
How do you go from being a Florida man like me to being a Los Angeles man as you are now, and then also falling into comics retail at the same time?
I kind of wiggled my way out of Florida.
You gotta.
Yeah, straight up. Yeah, the last place I lived was in Tallahassee. I started in Miami area.
Sure.
And a buddy of mine convinced me to move to Boston, and then I moved to New York, and then I got tired of the winter. I'd worked in film production a little bit, so met a lady. She worked in film, and we decided the natural thing was to go to the beach, but the West Coast.
Right.
And my business partner, David, who I am partnered with at the shop and in the game, he had been living in LA for years at that point. So it was kind of a natural thing to reconnect with him and try to get out from under working from other people and get to working for ourselves.
I mean, that is the dream.
Yeah.
You know, I realized during this entire talk, we've talked about the fact that you're a retailer, you created the Florida Man game. We haven't mentioned the name of your shop. And we do have customers that visit Los Angeles, so.
Cool. Hello, people. It's called Secret Headquarters. We're in Silver Lake in Los Angeles, kind of by downtown, between Hollywood and downtown, on Sunset Boulevard.
Can you make that sound any cooler? Like, you got anything else to add to make that
Nope.
cooler? And you guys have more than one location, right?
Yeah, we have a shop downtown inside a place called the Last Bookstore, which is like a 5,000 square foot giant bookstore.
Oh, so you guys are like inside this giant bookstore?
Yeah, we're the comics. We're the little mini comic shop in the bookstore.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's great.
So, you know, one of the things I've noticed with my time in the industry is that, you know, every comic book shop, it doesn't matter if you're in nowhere, Minnesota, or, you know, Toronto, every shop has its own little niche, like the thing that they're the personality for their store, like the thing they like people kind of visit for. What would you say for your shop? What is that thing that people come in for?
Hopefully it's to realize or to see that comics and a comic shop can be for pretty much any single person at all whatsoever that has a somewhat open mind and is
Sure.
interested in reading at all whatsoever.
I honestly couldn't have said that any better. Um, it sounds like you've kind of had a varied career. You were in film production. I mean, you apparently know how to create party games. You own a comic book shop. Is there anything you haven't done that you would still like to pursue at this point?
I think I'd like to learn how to repair motorcycles.
Well,
But
it's
in Florida, I'm kind of known for having had a lot of jobs. I've had about 50 jobs up
oh,
until our
okay,
comic shop. And I just kind of ran the gamut in South Florida, which is partly why, like, of course, I grew up there, so it'll never completely leave me.
sure,
But as all of these headlines started popping up everywhere, I repoed cars. I was a florist. I worked at a water park. So I
okay,
really had a very varied experience of the South Florida, especially
sure,
Florida man growing up.
yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
do
I
you think the
felt pretty
Florida man
connected.
ever actually leaves you, or is his spirit always, you know?
I kind of want it to mostly, I guess, but it probably doesn't. No, I do some pretty silly stuff. I'm sure that people would tell you. In fact, I have a broken leg right now from dirt bike accident a few weeks ago.
I have a broken leg right now from crashing my Harley like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
That's why when you
so there you
mentioned
go.
repairing motorcycles, I was like, tell me more about this because I am in need
Yeah,
of a repair right now.
yeah. Whoops.
Yeah, there, whoops. So, Mike, I mean, Nexus broke out. It was like, what, 1981 for you, right?
Yes.
And, and I mean, I mean, you worked for both the big two. I mean, you did The Flash, you did The Punisher. Again, Nexus, because that was like your creator-owned stuff. 40 years in the industry. Something you had mentioned that I want to kind of circle back to was that it took you almost 30 years to figure out how to write novels. What is it the difference in skill set between writing comic books very well? I'm a big fan, by the way, and also writing novels. Like, what's the difference there?
Well, I think the main difference is in comics is a visual medium, and you can offload your set direction and your acting, everything but the script. You can offload that on the illustrator. Because as we all know, great art has carried many a reader through a poorly written story, much more often than great writing has carried a reader through a badly illustrated story.
Sure.
I compare it to the difference between water skiing and skiing down Mount Everest. Because when you're a novelist, you have to create everything. You have to build the world visually. There's a rule in storytelling called show don't tell, and it should be obvious, but it took me a long time to grasp that. I always had a knack for comic books because I could always tell the illustrator, "Well, show this," but when you're writing a novel, you have to show that yourself. But it's not just showing. It's like I mentioned before, you have to use every trick in the book. Whenever a character enters a scene, I ask myself, what does he see? What does he hear? What
Right.
does he smell? What does he feel? No, I don't necessarily put that into every scene, but I'm always aware of it because I'm dressing the set. I want the reader's suspension of disbelief. My goal with everything I write is to grab the reader by the throat and drag him into the narrative to the exclusion of all else. I want the reader to resent anybody interrupting him. I want to tell a story that's gripping because that's entertainment. And so I use every trick I have, and now I just feel in command of my craft. But as I said before, it's everything. It's the plot, it's the character, it's the narrative voice, it's the dialogue you use. Sometimes it's the setting, like history. I love historical novels. I love The Lord of the Rings. They're not historical novels, but he's created a very convincing universe there.
Absolutely.
When you see those movies made out of the books, I think that's some of the greatest movies ever made because I find them very, very true to the books and just as immersive. And most movies don't measure up to the books they're made on.
No,
Some movies are better than the books they're based on.
I think that the majority of people would agree with that. So we do, while we're watching this, we do get questions from time to time. One of my favorites, Jimmy, Chip, I know you're watching. He had a question about if we carry the Florida Man game at Coliseum of Comics. Yes, we do carry the Florida Man game at Coliseum of Comics. We also carry the expansion Florida Woman. So if that is something you would like, I do think it is up your alley. You should swing by and pick up a copy of that game. It is a lot of fun. Um, Also, Mike, we carry Nexus graphic novels. We also carry some of his run of the Flash and Punisher. So if you're interested in following what Mike's doing, we have that stuff at Coliseum of Comics too. I don't need to take a small ad break there, but we had some questions about that stuff.
Thanks, Billy. I hope to be offering some new titles shortly.
Yeah, no, and that's something you mentioned was your the Florida Man graphic novel. Right now, it's currently it's being backed at the moment, right?
That's right.
So we can find that on Kickstarter if we want to.
Yeah, I
get behind
posted
that.
the link on your Facebook page.
There you go, guys. If you're
That Phil
interested,
Boyle Facebook page.
perfect. So if you're interested in backing the Florida Man graphic novel, which as a bunch of Florida men we probably should, you can find more information on our Facebook page and obviously on Kickstarter as well. Guys, it has been wonderful to talk to you guys. I've had some really cool guests for Coliseum Forum, but this is probably the one I've laughed the hardest on. It also, like, what a really cool like group of people to get to talk about Florida Man with for 40 minutes. So I know you're both very busy. You guys do awesome work. Thank you so much for your time.
I just want to say one word.
Oh, for sure.
If you read the Florida Man graphic novel, I guarantee you will burst out laughing numerous times.
That's a solid
Nice.
guarantee. I mean, you're going to guarantee that about the game, Dave?
Oh yeah,
I got to play the game. We're going to trade. We're going to trade.
we'll get you set up, Mike.
I'm going to send you the novel, and you're going to
Yeah.
send me the game.
All right, guys. Thanks once again for joining us for a Coliseum Forum. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, bud.